The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Niccolò Machiavelli. What makes someone so confident that people lean in when they speak, yet tread carefully when they act? We are told confidence is about believing in yourself, but that is only the surface. The kind of confidence Machiavelli would respect is not about smiling in the mirror or repeating affirmations. It is about becoming untouchable in the ways that truly matter. Control over perception, mastery of emotion, and the ability to turn any situation to your advantage. Most people think confidence comes from talent or success, but in reality, it often comes from the illusion of certainty. If you walk into a room as though you belong there, people rarely question you. If you remain unshaken when challenged, others assume you have power they cannot see. This is not arrogance, it is calculated presence. Machiavelli understood that people respond more to the appearance of strength than to strength itself. Dangerous confidence is not about recklessness. It is about knowing you can lose everything today and still rebuild tomorrow. It comes from studying human behavior so deeply that manipulation and influence are not accidents, but choices. It is the art of being both visible and unknowable, of making others wonder what you are truly capable of. If you want that kind of presence, you must strip away the fluff and see confidence for what it is, a crafted weapon, not a personality trait. This is where it begins. Let's talk about it. Chosen ones. Number 1. People fear what they do not fully understand, so never show all of yourself at once. Let mystery work as silent intimidation. People are naturally unsettled by what they cannot fully figure out. It is why shadows feel more dangerous than what is standing in plain light. When people cannot predict you, they cannot control you. This is where mystery becomes one of the most powerful forms of influence. It does not require force or loudness. It works quietly in the background, keeping people curious, cautious, and sometimes even afraid to challenge you. Think about the people you have met who never tell you everything at once. They speak with intention, reveal just enough to keep you listening, and hold back the rest. You leave the conversation replaying their words in your head, wondering what they meant or what else they know. That is silent intimidation. You are not threatening anyone, yet your presence makes them more careful around you. Machiavelli understood that human beings fill in the blanks with their own imagination, and imagination is often far more intimidating than reality. If you show every detail of who you are, people will feel safe because they believe they have mapped you out. But if you keep certain parts of yourself hidden, your true ambitions, your exact limits, your next move, you create uncertainty, and uncertainty is uncomfortable. For example, imagine you are in a meeting and someone tries to provoke you. Instead of reacting instantly, you pause, look at them, and smile slightly before moving on. That pause alone will replay in their mind. Was it confidence? Was it a warning? Was it indifference? They will not know, and because they do not know, they will tread more lightly next time. Mystery also works in personal relationships. The friend who never overshares, the colleague who does not announce every plan, the partner who maintains a certain independence. These people are often respected more, not less. They give just enough to connect, but not enough to be predictable. The point is not to be cold or distant. It is to recognize that complete transparency is not always in your best interest. People are not entitled to your full story. By choosing what to reveal and what to keep for yourself, you create an invisible layer of power. That layer will not just protect you. It will make others think twice before crossing you, and that is the quiet strength of mystery. Number 2. A calm face in the midst of chaos convinces others you are in control, even when you are improvising every move. When everything is falling apart, the person who keeps a calm face becomes the unspoken leader in the room. It does not matter if they have all the answers or not. People are wired to follow the one who appears unshaken, because calmness in chaos signals strength. Even if you are making up your next step on the spot, your composure convinces others that you are in control, and often that is enough to steer the situation in your favor. Imagine being on a turbulent flight. The captain's voice comes over the speakers, steady and measured, telling you there is nothing to worry about. You may still feel uneasy, but that calm tone keeps you from panicking. If the captain sounded frantic, your fear would multiply instantly. The same thing happens in life. People look to you as a signal. If you appear collected, they borrow your composure. If you look rattled, their anxiety grows. This is not about pretending problems do not exist. It is about deciding that panic never improves a situation. A clear mind makes better decisions. And a clear mind is only possible when you keep your emotions in check. Think of a firefighter in a burning building. If they froze in fear, everyone would be in danger. Instead, they train themselves to stay steady under pressure, even when the outcome is uncertain. In everyday life, chaos can mean an argument at work, a family emergency, or an unexpected financial hit. Your instinct might be to react loudly or show frustration. But if you train yourself to take a slow breath, assess quietly, and speak with measured words, you will notice something. People will start looking to you before making their own moves. They will trust you, even without knowing if you have everything figured out. Calmness in chaos also gives you a hidden advantage. While others are clouded by emotion, you can observe, strategize, and spot opportunities they miss. You might not have a perfect plan, but the absence of panic lets you create one on the spot, without showing your uncertainty. In a world where most people crack under pressure, the one who keeps a calm face gains silent authority. It makes people believe you are capable of more than you actually are. And sometimes that belief alone is enough to make it true. Number 3. Confidence grows when you stop asking for permission and start behaving as if authority already belongs to you. Most people wait for a green light that never comes. They hesitate, hoping someone will give them approval, a title, or the perfect moment before they make their move. The truth is, waiting for permission is one of the fastest ways to remain invisible. Real confidence begins the moment you stop asking and start acting as though authority already belongs to you. Authority is not always granted formally. Often it is taken by those bold enough to claim it. Think about a meeting where everyone is unsure who should lead the discussion. The person who starts speaking with clarity and direction quickly becomes the one everyone listens to, even if they were not officially in charge. People naturally follow those who behave as if they already have the right to lead. This does not mean being reckless or disrespectful. It means stepping into situations with a sense of ownership, instead of waiting for a stamp of approval. If you walk into a room with the energy of someone who belongs there, others will treat you as though you do. The reverse is also true. If you walk in timid and hesitant, they will assume you are not the one to take seriously. Consider how this works in everyday life. If you want to propose an idea at work, do not frame it as just a thought or something small. Speak as if your idea is worth attention. If you want to meet someone influential, approach them as an equal, not a fan seeking validation. When you carry yourself as though you have the right to be in the conversation, you change how others respond to you. The shift is psychological. When you stop waiting for permission, you signal to yourself that you are capable, and that self-belief leaks into your tone, your posture, and your choices. People pick up on it instantly. The irony is that most authority figures are not more talented or special than the rest. They simply act like leaders before anyone calls them one. If you start doing the same, you will notice a strange thing. People will begin giving you the respect you stopped asking for. And that is when confidence stops being an act and starts becoming who you are. Number 4. The less reactive you are to praise or insult, the more people assume you operate on a higher plane of purpose. Most people are like weather vanes. The moment someone praises them, they light up. The moment someone criticizes them, they deflate. Their mood, their confidence, even their self-worth swing wildly depending on what others say. But the ones who seem untouchable are different. They do not flinch at insults, and they do not melt under compliments. This creates the impression that they operate on a higher level driven by something deeper than public opinion. When you are quick to react to every word about you, you reveal that other people control your emotional state. An insult becomes a lever that pulls you into anger. A compliment becomes a leash that tugs you toward dependence. But when you refuse to be swayed by either, you send a quiet but powerful message. Your sense of worth does not come from them. Think about the leaders, athletes, or creators who seem unshakable. A reporter tries to provoke them with a sharp question, and they answer calmly or simply smile. Fans cheer their name, and they nod in appreciation but keep their focus on the goal. That steadiness makes people wonder what inner force is guiding them, because it is clearly not the noise around them. This does not mean you ignore kindness or constructive feedback. It means you receive it without letting it change your core. You can thank someone for a compliment without feeling like you now owe them. You can listen to criticism without feeling the need to prove yourself instantly. For example, if a colleague at work tells you your presentation was brilliant, you can smile and move on without gushing or fishing for more. If another says it was terrible, you can consider their points, decide what is useful, and let the rest slide off. In both cases, you remain centered. Operating this way makes you seem grounded, even mysterious. People will notice that they cannot control you with flattery, and they cannot weaken you with mockery. That alone earns respect. In a world where everyone is desperate for approval and terrified of judgment, the one who stays steady becomes magnetic. Others will assume you have a purpose or vision greater than their opinion, and they will be right. Number 5. In any room, the one who speaks last holds the most weight because silence forces others to fill it with their insecurity. Most people cannot stand silence. The moment it appears in a conversation, they rush to fill it with words, often revealing more than they intended. This is why the one who speaks last often holds the most weight in any room. Silence is not emptiness. It is pressure. It makes others feel exposed, and in their attempt to break it, they give away their thoughts, doubts, and even weaknesses. When you let others speak first, you give them room to show their position, their fears, and their level of confidence. The more they talk, the more they reveal. By the time it is your turn to speak, you have gathered valuable information without saying a word. This makes your words sharper because they are backed by observation rather than guesswork. Imagine you are in a negotiation. The other side makes an offer and then goes quiet, expecting you to respond immediately. Instead, you pause, you let the silence stretch. Suddenly, they start talking again, trying to justify the offer, sweetening the deal, or even lowering their terms without you asking. The silence unsettled them, and you gained the advantage. This works in social situations too. In a heated debate among friends, the one who jumps in quickly often ends up sounding defensive or emotional. The one who waits, listens, and speaks at the right moment comes across as thoughtful and in control. People tend to remember the final statement more than the first, which means timing can matter as much as content. Silence also projects confidence. Only someone sure of themselves can resist the urge to fill every gap. It signals patience, control, and the ability to think before reacting, qualities that make people take your words more seriously when you finally speak. The key is not to be passive or withdrawn, but intentional. Hold your ground in conversations, watch others reveal themselves, and choose your moment carefully. When you speak last, you are not just adding your voice. You are delivering the conclusion everyone remembers. That is the power of silence. Number 6. People follow certainty more than truth, so speak with precision and finality even when the facts are not yet on your side. People like to believe they value truth above all else, but in reality, most are drawn to the person who sounds certain. Certainty feels safe. It creates direction. It removes the burden of thinking through the chaos. This is why someone who speaks with precision and finality can command a room even when the facts are incomplete or still unfolding. When you speak hesitantly, filling your sentences with maybe, I think, or I'm not sure, you give others room to doubt you. They start to question whether you know what you are talking about, even if everything you are saying is accurate. On the other hand, if you present your point clearly and confidently, people often accept it as truth simply because you seem so sure. Consider a group deciding on a course of action in an emergency. One person lists several options and wonders aloud which might work. Another steps in and says, "Here's what we're going to do." Most will follow the second person without hesitation, not because their plan is necessarily better, but because certainty is more comforting than indecision. This does not mean lying or making things up recklessly. It means owning your words. If you do not yet have all the answers, speak clearly about what you do know and frame it in a way that shows conviction. Instead of, "I'm not sure, but maybe this will work," you could say, "This is our best move right now." Both sentences acknowledge uncertainty, but only one inspires action. Leaders, negotiators, and persuasive speakers all understand this principle. They know that people often confuse confidence with correctness. The human mind craves direction, and when you deliver it with authority, it feels like truth, even if the details are still being confirmed. The world is full of information, but not enough decisiveness. Those who speak with precision and finality cut through the noise. They become the ones others turn to, not because they are always right, but because they make people believe they are worth following. And in moments of uncertainty, that belief can matter more than the facts themselves. Number 7. Master the art of leaving your words hanging in the air. People will keep replaying them in their minds long after you have gone. Some words vanish the moment they are spoken. Others linger, replaying in people's minds, making them wonder, question, and even lose sleep. The difference often lies in the delivery, not just the content. When you master the art of leaving your words hanging in the air, you create an echo that works on people long after the conversation is over. Most people speak as if they are trying to fill space. They rush through their sentences, afraid of pauses, and over-explain their points. But when you drop a statement and let silence follow, it forces the other person to sit with it. That pause is not emptiness. It is weight. It makes the listener process your words instead of brushing past them. Imagine a boss telling an underperforming employee, "I know you're capable of more." Then they stop talking, hold eye contact, and let the sentence hang. That single moment can carry more impact than a 10-minute lecture. The employee will keep thinking about what more means, what the boss expects, and how they are being perceived. This works in personal situations too. If someone is fishing for drama or trying to provoke you, a measured response like, "That's interesting," followed by silence, can be more unsettling than an argument. They will wonder what you really meant, and whether you know something they do not. Leaving your words hanging is not about manipulation for its own sake. It is about understanding that impact is not only created by what you say, but also by how you let it land. The human mind hates unfinished business, and an open-ended or thought-provoking statement can loop in someone's head for hours or even days. Think about powerful movie scenes. The most memorable lines are often followed by a pause, a look, or a slow walk away. That space after the words gives them life. You can create the same effect in real conversations. The key is restraint. Do not explain everything immediately. Say what matters, then stop. Trust that silence will do the rest. People will replay your words, adding their own interpretations, and in doing so, your influence will last far longer than the conversation itself. That is how words become unforgettable. Number 8. Appear to need no one, yet let others believe you value their loyalty. It binds them to you without binding you to them. One of the most subtle forms of power is to appear entirely self-sufficient while making others feel their loyalty is treasured. It is a delicate balance. If you seem too dependent, people begin to believe they have leverage over you. If you appear too indifferent, they feel unappreciated and drift away. The sweet spot is to project independence while still making others feel essential to your mission. Humans are wired to want to matter. People crave the feeling that their presence, support, and effort are recognized. When you can give someone that feeling without actually tying your survival or success to them, you create a bond where they are invested in you, but you remain free. Imagine a leader in a workplace. They never give the impression that they cannot function without a particular employee. Yet when that employee delivers, the leader expresses gratitude in a way that feels personal and genuine. The employee feels valued, but the leader's authority and independence remain intact. The result is loyalty that comes from choice, not obligation. This approach also protects you. If you make it clear through your actions that your life, work, or goals are not entirely reliant on any single person, you cannot be easily manipulated. At the same time, by acknowledging contributions, you make others want to keep supporting you because it feels good for them to do so. It works in friendships and relationships too. If you constantly signal that you cannot cope without someone, you hand them emotional control over you. But if you can thrive on your own while still appreciating their presence, you become magnetic. People respect strength paired with warmth far more than they respect neediness. The trick is sincerity. False flattery will eventually show. You must genuinely notice what others bring to the table, but never give the impression your table would collapse without them. When done well, you create a dynamic where people want to be in your corner because they feel proud to stand there, not because you are leaning on them for survival. That is the quiet power of needing no one yet making everyone believe their loyalty matters. It keeps you free while keeping them close. Number 9. The less accessible you are, the more people project power onto you. Scarcity is the currency of influence. People value what they cannot easily have. The moment something is always available, it starts to feel ordinary, even if it is rare or exceptional. This is why scarcity is such a powerful currency when it comes to influence. The less accessible you are, the more people begin to project power, importance, and mystery onto you. When you are constantly in reach, answering every message instantly, showing up at every gathering, and always saying yes, you unknowingly lower your perceived value. You may think you are being generous or accommodating, but in the human mind, abundance breeds familiarity, and familiarity often dulls respect. On the other hand, when you are selective with your time and attention, people start to wonder what else is going on in your world. They begin to assume you are important simply because you are not always there. Think of how people treat a celebrity who rarely gives interviews compared to one who is on every talk show. The rare appearance feels like an event. The same principle works in everyday life. The colleague who does not speak at every meeting but offers one sharp insight when they do is remembered more than the one who talks constantly. The friend who is hard to pin down but makes every meeting memorable is valued more than the one who is always available for last-minute plans. Scarcity also creates anticipation. When you are not always accessible, people are more intentional when they reach out to you. Your presence becomes something they prepare for, not something they take for granted. It forces them to consider what they will say or do because they know your time is not something they can waste. This is not about playing games or acting cold. It is about recognizing that your time, energy, and attention are resources, and people respect resources that are guarded. Being selective communicates that you value yourself, and people often mirror that valuation back to you. When you give everyone constant access, they might appreciate you in the moment, but they will not chase your presence. When you give your access carefully, they will seek it, respect it, and sometimes even compete for it. That is the quiet but undeniable power of scarcity. It is not arrogance, it is economics of influence. Number 10. When you decide, do it decisively. Hesitation smells like weakness and invites manipulation. Indecision is a silent invitation for others to take control. The moment you hesitate, people start to test your resolve. They question your authority, your competence, and sometimes even your right to lead. In contrast, when you make a decision with clarity and commitment, you signal strength. Even if the choice is not perfect, the confidence behind it often matters more than the choice itself. Hesitation creates a vacuum, and nature, as well as human nature, hates a vacuum. Someone will fill that gap. If you do not step in with certainty, someone else will, and from that point on, you are following rather than leading. This is why in negotiations, arguments, and high-pressure situations, decisive action can shut down manipulation before it begins. Consider a workplace scenario. A manager is asked which project to prioritize. They hesitate, weighing every possible outcome aloud. Within minutes, team members begin pushing their own agendas, steering the decision toward their personal interests. The result is a diluted choice that serves others more than it serves the goal. Now, imagine the same manager responding firmly. We're focusing on Project A. Here's why. The clarity leaves little room for debate, and the team moves forward without trying to reshape the decision. Decisiveness also earns respect outside of work. In personal relationships, someone who constantly wavers is easy to influence. The friend who cannot decide where to go for dinner ends up eating wherever the pushiest person wants. The partner who cannot set boundaries ends up living by someone else's rules. This does not mean rushing into decisions blindly. It means training yourself to assess quickly and act with commitment once you have enough information. People are far more willing to follow a flawed but confident plan than a perfect one that never leaves the discussion stage. When you act decisively, you send the message that you trust yourself. That self-trust is contagious. People begin to trust you too, not just for the decision at hand, but for leadership in general. Hesitation tells the world you can be swayed. Decisiveness tells the world you are in control. And in any arena, business, politics, relationships, control attracts loyalty, respect, and influence. Number 11. Control the frame of every interaction. The first one, to define the terms of engagement, silently writes the rules. Every conversation, negotiation, or meeting is played within a certain frame, an invisible set of assumptions that shapes how both sides behave. The person who sets that frame first almost always holds the advantage, because once the terms of engagement are established, the other side is forced to operate inside them. Control the frame, and you control the game. Most people walk into interactions without realizing a frame already exists. They respond to the energy, the language, and the structure someone else has put in place. By the time they start speaking, they are already playing by rules they did not create. The one who defines the frame early can tilt the entire conversation in their favor without ever saying, "These are the rules." For example, imagine a salary negotiation. If the employer begins by saying, "This role typically pays between 40 and 50,000, they have set the frame. Any number you suggest now feels anchored to that range. But if you start the discussion with, "I'm looking for a package that reflects the market rate for someone with my experience, which is closer to 60, you have shifted the frame before they could set theirs. Now the conversation lives in your numbers, not theirs. Frames also exist in everyday social situations. If you meet someone and they open with a self-deprecating joke, the frame becomes light and informal. If you open with a thoughtful question, the frame becomes more serious and respectful. The tone you choose subtly tells others how to treat you. Even in disagreements, controlling the frame changes outcomes. If someone accuses you angrily and you respond calmly with, "I want to understand your perspective before we continue," you shift the frame from conflict to dialogue. They now have to meet you on that level or risk looking unreasonable. The power of framing lies in the fact that most people never notice it happening. They accept the starting point as reality when it is often just someone's opening move. If you learn to set that starting point yourself, through your words, your posture, and your choice of focus, you quietly write the rules that others follow. And the one who writes the rules rarely loses. Number 12. Train yourself to be comfortable in long silences. Others will rush to fill them and reveal more than they intended. Silence makes most people nervous. The moment a conversation pauses, they scramble to fill the space with words, often speaking without thinking. This is why learning to stay calm in long silences is such a powerful skill. It turns the pressure of that empty space into a tool you can use, one that gets people to reveal far more than they planned. When you ask someone a question and they answer, most of the time they expect you to respond right away. If you remain silent instead, holding steady eye contact or simply waiting, the pause becomes uncomfortable for them. In that discomfort, many will keep talking, adding details, clarifying points, or even exposing truths they meant to keep hidden. Think of a skilled interviewer or negotiator. They listen to an answer, nod, and then say nothing. Within seconds, the other person feels the need to keep going, and often the most valuable information comes in that second wave of speaking. It works because silence acts like a mirror. People start to fill it with whatever is on their mind, even if it is not in their best interest. This also applies outside of formal settings. In an argument, if you stay quiet after someone's outburst, they often soften their tone or reveal the real reason they are upset. In sales, a buyer who hears your offer and is met with silence may rush to justify their hesitation, giving you clues about how to close the deal. The key is to be genuinely comfortable with the pause. If you look impatient or anxious, you lose the effect. You must train yourself to see silence as active, not empty. Count to 5 in your head if you have to. Use the time to observe body language, tone shifts, and emotional cues. When you can outlast the other person's discomfort, you control the tempo of the interaction. You gather more information while saying less. And because silence is so rare in everyday conversations, it will make you stand out as someone who listens with intent. Number 13. Appear unpredictable but never chaotic. Consistency in intent but variability in method keeps rivals cautious. People fear what they cannot fully predict, but they dismiss what feels random and unfocused. The sweet spot is to appear unpredictable in your actions while remaining consistent in your purpose. When others can guess your intent but never anticipate your next move, they are forced to stay cautious. You become someone they cannot prepare for, yet they know you are always moving towards something deliberate. True unpredictability does not mean acting without thought. It means changing your methods often enough that others cannot form a pattern to exploit. If you always respond the same way, people will learn how to counter you. If you sometimes negotiate hard and other times walk away without warning, they cannot find a safe, reliable strategy against you. Think of a skilled chess player. Their goal, to win, never changes, but the way they reach checkmate shifts from game to game. The opponent cannot rely on past moves to predict the next one. This uncertainty forces them to spend more energy watching and adjusting, which often leads to mistakes. In business, this might mean keeping competitors off balance by shifting how you launch projects or pitch ideas. In personal dynamics, it could be varying how and when you set boundaries. You might be direct one time and subtle the next, making it hard for anyone to prepare a counter-strategy. The danger with unpredictability is slipping into chaos. If your actions lack a clear thread of purpose, people will see you as unreliable rather than formidable. That is why your intent must remain steady. Those who know you well should understand what you ultimately stand for, your goals, values, or principles, even if they cannot predict your route to get there. When you strike this balance, you control the mental space of others. They will hesitate before challenging you because they cannot predict what kind of response they will trigger. That hesitation is a form of power. Being predictable makes you easy to manage. Being chaotic makes you easy to dismiss. But being intentionally unpredictable, while holding firm to your deeper purpose, makes you someone people respect, watch closely, and approach with care. That is where real strategic advantage lives. In conclusion, men are so simple and so much creatures of circumstance that the deceiver will always find someone to deceive. Niccolò Machiavelli. What makes confidence cross the line from ordinary to dangerous? Is it simply believing in yourself, or is it something sharper, something more deliberate? Dangerous confidence is not about walking into a room with a smile and hoping people like you. It is about walking into that room knowing exactly how to shape perception, command attention, and protect your position without saying a word more than necessary. Machiavelli understood that influence is rarely given. It is taken by those who know how people think and feel. Dangerous confidence is built on that same truth. It is the ability to act without hesitation, to appear unshaken in chaos, to speak as though your words carry finality. It is knowing when to be seen and when to be scarce, when to make someone feel valued and when to make them work for your approval. Most people mistake confidence for volume or charisma, but the real thing is quieter and far more strategic. It comes from control. Control over your emotions, over the frame of the conversation, and over how much of yourself you reveal. It is the discipline to let silence work in your favor, to shift methods without losing purpose, and to keep others slightly unsure of your next move. The truth is, you do not need to be the loudest or the most obvious to be the most powerful. You need to be the one who moves with intention while others react. That is the kind of confidence people respect, fear, and remember, the kind that cannot be faked. because it is built one deliberate choice at a time. Thank you for watching, chosen ones, and God bless you.